I forgot to change the title. Great way to start this stream. Hello, good morning. And greetings from the planetarium. Back into the game real quick. Continue. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign that Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was alright, but he kept his distance from the other kids. From what you saw, anyway. Originally, he treated you like everyone else, passing you by... Oh, the achievement is in the way. Okay, passing you by as if you didn't know each other. But as the years went on, the two of you acknowledged each other more and more. A friendship has started to grow. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Oh, checking on things. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad, who would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove, realizing I didn't send out the link either. I'm great at this. Also, let me title it Step 2 for now. Save. I'm a professional. We do things professionally. Also, I'm gonna have to draw a new thumbnail now that we're in Step 2. Is Chiaki trending on Twitter? Oh, while I'm taking a second to send out links, sorry for the background noise that my heater's probably giving the stream. It's very cold, so I don't want to turn it off, but yeah, I know it can be annoying. I need to get a better mic. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. We weren't sure how well it worked in changing Cove's thoughts on the town, yet it might have been part of the reason you and Cove ended up growing closer. Alright. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. Still, you worried about him. You could tell he wasn't completely happy. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After all, it felt like things had gone back to normal. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal. Except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore, you were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked up his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone threw attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew for him. In class, people knew for him more than just being tall. Okay, that's it. Knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did on tests and in other academic situations. Over the years, he began opening up too. You saw him talking amicably with other kids or neighbors from time to time. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Silo, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Coke came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Silo anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You're much too old for the word. Listen, I feel like I just got dragged. I still call my mom mommy, and I'm almost 20 years old. Shit. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted on everyone calling her Elizabeth. Lizzie is not... Okay, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people like yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was, his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed in small and big ways. You had to. And as time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation had come again. Oh, my room's cool! Where are all my stuffed animals? Excuse me? It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake, about to head out to enjoy your time off. I was always the type to really... To this day, I like to sleep in no matter what I have to do that day. So... There are times for summer vacation where I would actually sleep until about noon or later, because I never got to do that during school. I'm so glad to be away from school, God. It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. Oh, you're cute. You're sleeping? You're still sleeping? Wow, get up. Go away. You pretended to be asleep. You got up. You started to fake snore loudly. Morning. Let's pretend to still be asleep. You stayed wrapped up in your blankets, not moving an inch, with your eyes closed peacefully. By the impatient tapping of her foot, you could tell she hadn't left. Come on, I know you heard me. Get up, now. I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that your friend's at the door. He brought some happy summer gift for Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him, says thanks or whatever. So come down already. You right there? Okay, fine. Really? That's great. I'm coming. I'll be there when I'm there. I want to be such an ass, but that's like the teenager me talking. Okay, fine. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Your reflection hardly even fit the frame. You're very tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame, your average height. There was a lot of open real estate in the frame. You're pretty short. You had trouble getting your reflection to appear in the mounted mirror frame. You're very short. I mean, I would say I'm about average. I mean, when I mounted my own mirrors, I did it according to my height, so I don't know if the mounting of a mirror really, best not to think about it too hard. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame, your average height. Cove was really tall. Derek was kind of short, and you were pretty much the exact height that someone would expect for a 13-year-old. You liked your height, you weren't sure how to feel about it, you were kind of self-conscious over it, weren't sure how to feel. Things kept changing. With the height you actually had and what the impression of that height was based on your age, it was confusing. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they'd been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to, so this worked out in your favor. Your reflection grinned back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Ah, someone's at my door? Okay, I'll be back. Someone else in my family got it. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face. Good morning, Min. Thank you for coming down. Mouth of the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder. Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average, so you were little in her eyes, despite being the typical size for your own age. Let her do it. You happily let her do it. You tilted your body aside to dodge. You pushed your hand back and laughed. You pushed your hand back and groaned. Sure. That type of small effect. Oh, God. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. my girl. That type of small, affectionate exchange was nice. She placed the whole of her hand on the top of your head for a second before lifting it back up. No, you're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race. Morning. I was going to stay in longer, so you're welcome. Sorry about the wait. What'd you get? I was going to stay in longer, so you're welcome. Yes, thank you for gracing us all with your presence this fine day. With a small laugh, Moss stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him to be. Oh, Dweebus! He leaned uncomfortably to the side of your doorway as his bushy hair covered part of his face. His features were pinched in embarrassment, and he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must be the much-talked-about gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers. Then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. That's interesting. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying this sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. I kind of want one. I want to eat a star-shaped fruit. See, no matter how long he'd lived there, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Cove smiled slightly at the sight of you. The sting of this goofy errand he was clearly embarrassed to be on eased. Amen. You earnestly grinned back. It wasn't weird at all, like it used to be when you were kids. As time passed, the two of you started to enjoy each other's company. Now you actually considered him a good friend and not someone you were forced to be around by your families. God! Hey, it's really nice to see you. Yeah, you too. And you were certain he meant that agreement. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for the two of you to have fun together. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. And with that, the gift was accepted. I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift, I think. It's a pretty good gift. I think so, anyway. Really? Because you looked like you hated to be holding it. He smiled earnestly. Oh! Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There are so many options to choose from. Thank you. Thanks. You're too cute sometimes. Thanks. Could you tell your dad we liked the gift? Yeah. Mr. Holden's behavior was different from any neighbor you'd ever had. After 5 years, you were used to his antics, and you since made up your mind on what your opinion was. My lips are getting dry. God, cold. I hate the cold. I hate everything about the cold. Makes sense, I guess, being from one of the hottest planets in the solar system. Alright. He was nice. He was sort of funny. He was pretty weird. You didn't like him. He was great. He was great and kind of handsome to boot. See, I really want another version of this game where I'm like not a kid or whatever. And also closer to Holden's age. But I can take his dad. I can take Cove's dad. He is nice. He is kind of funny. He was great. Kind of handsome to boot. Now, there are some things people didn't like about Mr. Holden. You didn't mind them and actually liked him quite a bit. And even if he was Cove's dad, you couldn't pretend like he wasn't a nice-looking guy. That was good, too. But it was something you kept to yourself. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are. You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the open door and out into the neighborhood street. Didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. You were happy at the sight of him. You were confused at the sight of him. You were displeased by the sight of him. Confused. Why are you here? You hadn't expected to see Derek today. No, you never really knew when he'd appear. Oh, it's a little baby boy! After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. I like your jersey, dude. Good colors. Then he looked up at you with a wide grin. Oh, your eyes are pretty. Hey, guy and pal. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured you'd be at Nin's place. Do you ever spend time at your own home, or are you always just there? Now that Derek's standing next to Cove, Cove doesn't really look like a 13-year-old. Ah. Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This? It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit. Nice! Can I have some? Sure, you can share. Haven't even tried yet. It's a gift for my family. Can't give it to you. Maybe you can have some later. Sure, we can share. Derek grew more excited by your words, bounding on the balls of his feet. Awesome! Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was as surprised as you were by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh. The new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope, I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly, you looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like Yuko when you first got here, anyway. Kinda does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well now that you say so. What'd you say? Let's go find Ko's lookalike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see how this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down to the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of sun. He scuffled around, kicking up sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed sad, but you didn't think he was sad like you originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched-up expression, he came off angry. He started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe it'd be better if he left him alone and let himself sort himself out. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over here! Ah, nerd! The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper into his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong, hostile energy still radiated from them. Oh my god, he's a nerd. He's a freaking nerd. I really hope you get a haircut. What? What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy, was that it? No, I'm Derek. That's an Cove. We were walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. Okay, Dick. What? My parents. They're the ones who brought me here. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own? Right. My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not that bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation probably either. What? Are you kidding me? It has a playground and a beach. That's all you need. It has a library, a playground, and a beach. Although, I am from a small town, so maybe that's just my thoughts on it. You guys actually have more than I had. You have a whole shopping center you can just walk to. Yeah, and they freaking despise my place. Adjusting the camera. I lost it when I was getting water. There we go. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, a chore. My parents' family is nearby and we just had to come see them. Ugh. They're your parents' family. Doesn't that make them your family too? I guess. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home. But I'm not allowed to be by myself. Makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid. Kept quiet. Shouldn't talk about your parents like that. Sorry, it must have being forced to do something you don't want. We just said hello. You don't have to keep complaining to us. Calm down. You don't have to yell so much. Who peed in your cereal this morning? Jeremy's lips curled as his face contorted from anger to horror. Why would you think of something like that? It's disgusting. It's just an expression. He took a deep breath. He thought for one hopeful second that maybe he was calming himself down. He was not. So what? You're putting it in people's heads. I don't want to have to think about it, and someone brainless might decide it's a good idea and actually do it. Yeah, I'm about to do it. I'm about to piss in your cereal. There's some real stupids out in the world, you know. You're all living proof of that. I'm about to piss on you. He looks like a Weevil Underwood from Yu-Gi-Oh! Hey, we're not stupid. Smarter than you are. Shut up. Stop it. I'm smarter than you are. How are you gonna prove that when you're just saying one moronic thing after another? You turn to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jeremy must have good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed. Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. He also reminds me of, what's-her-face, the dancer from, Super Danganronpa 2. Except worse. Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. I like your wavy eyebrows! Come on. What? No, Cove's wavy eyebrows are cool. How can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? That's exactly what I was thinking. Don't listen to him. They're really unique and special. Well, they are kind of silly. Apologize to Cove right now. You can't treat people like that. How can you I'm ready to fight this kid. Okay. As a 13-year-old, this is what I would have said. Yep, it's embarrassing and awful, but my parents made me. I won't have to have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with those things except maybe shave them off. He probably should. I bet he'd look less dumb with no eyebrows. Just rolled your eyes, crossed your arms over your chest, you shook your head, you patted Cove on the shoulder. You lunged to— I'm not gonna fight him. You grinned at all of this. Yeah, he's kind of funny. He wasn't the nicest kid you'd ever met, but he certainly wasn't the dullest. He rejected your amusement by grimacing harder than ever. Wow, what is wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice. Wow. Oh, okay. I didn't know they were gonna say it. Wow, wow. This is dumb. This is dumb. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over, until he became a speck in your vision. So that was interesting. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid. Derek wasn't kidding. At the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. It'll be like a raid boss every time we come to this area. We'll have to fight him. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. He followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do. I was hoping we could meet someone fun. Hang out, maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But you know what will really improve the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point. Right at the fruit arrangement you were still holding. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You'd gotten used to the wait. Glancing over at Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Just say it. I need to save it? Why not? Let's eat. Why not? Let's eat. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for a skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away. Well, don't eat it all. But I mean, we probably got sand on it anyway, so whatever. You nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. You took a pineapple, grape, strawberry, or melon. I'd be most likely to take pineapple. The pineapple was cut to look like a flower. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing. Tastes pretty nice, and this fruit kebab thing is fun. Hey, you two remember the Land Before Time? That fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars. Tree stars. Yeah, chopping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was a scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off of them until there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. I love that movie. Never seen it. I didn't like that one. Movies for kids. Eating leaves looks good. Should I worry about you? You think things taste better when they're shaped like stars? I did like that movie, and I agree. Like, animation can make anything look delicious. I remember really wanting to eat that, grub from, Lion King. I love that movie. Me too. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. We didn't save even a single one for my mom's? Hey, we weren't supposed to eat all of it. It did help make you feel better. Eating it all hadn't really made you feel better. I'm not gonna yell at them. It did make you feel better. Derek was right. It was so good you were already brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, Nin? Yeah? The two of you met eyes casually. That was pretty cool, what you said back at that guy. Was it? Oh, thanks. I was just saying what I thought. Derek chimed in high spirits. You totally owned him. I don't know what his parents say, but it's good at least somebody is around to tell him what's what. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content laugh. With a content sigh. Oops. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah. No, I'm not sure. Are you? How's someone supposed to be ready for a break? Yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. Feels like there's a lot to plan for. What about you, Cove? Are you ready? Yes. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. Oh no! Did he respawn? Oh no, it's another mob. It's another mob. Hey, Nin! You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought for us. She leered over you with arms folded. So, where is it? Well, it's gone. What do you mean, gone? Yeah, I was wondering if there'd be consequences. You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped and the tone of her voice rose. Seriously, Nin? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you and continued mockingly. Even if you did have an in with the delivery boy, this is up to Mr. Holden. Cove gave you a bent smile of support, which didn't help disprove her accusation. Sorry. Get over it. Well, it's been kind of a disaster. We were hungry. It wasn't us. The seagull came down and ate it while we weren't looking. I did... sorry. Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all placated. Oh no, I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around. What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brows raised. He ran. He stayed. Bye! Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes. She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day. Exactly, but we should keep moving. For now, at least. Victory! My moms are going to be so mad when Elizabeth tells this story. Oh well. You chuckled together, walking further down the beach side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little longer. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You'd gotten a bit of your scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Oh my gosh, a house phone. I forgot we had these old things. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited. Your gaze trained on the phone. Oh, I need to turn that off now. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you were positive she was going to want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Lizzie Elizabeth too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. She was your only friend who was a girl. Being family helped make you close, but you had a lot of girlfriends. For realism's sake, I guess she would have been my only friend who was a girl. I don't really have a lot of girlfriends. Throughout my whole life, really, I made friends more easily with guys than girls. So why don't we go for realism? You weren't a girl yourself, so maybe that was why. But you had plenty of other friends. You didn't really have a lot of other friends either. Even... yeah, this would be more accurate. Mom always said that quality was more important than quantity when Elizabeth bemoaned your small social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless you thought that what you had with Lee was good. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Lee, finally! Who is it? Odeon resident student speaking. Hello. Who is it? Your worst nightmare. Of course you knew right away who it was. You laughed. Hi, Lee. Dropping the joke, she laughed too. Hi, Nan. There was static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. Can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out... Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head over to my room. Oh yeah. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless the call was in progress, which is why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. Your mom's could be really unfair, you thought that made sense. You didn't like it, but it had to be that way. It makes sense, you don't want to lose the phone. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way to the stairs, smiling. After you'd arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. Alright, I'm here. Cool. Hey, did you know that the girlfriend down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. So do my moms not have cell phones? Holden doesn't have one either? Okay, this must take place a while ago. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they changed their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. But wouldn't I still be using a home phone? Too bad that's so far away. Really great. We could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not going to get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to college. School is such a big part of your life right now. Studying didn't come easily, though you tried hard. You worked as hard as most people did and got pretty average results as well. You never tried much, but you still didn't do that bad. You didn't bother at all in your school, and your grades reflected that. Everything in your classes came easily to you. You worked hard for your excellent grades. Never tried much, but didn't do bad. Coasting by had become routine for you. Teachers had warned you that you wouldn't be able to do that forever, but you figured it was enough for now. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. You felt a lot of pressure to get higher grades than you did last year. You hope to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. You're confident your grades would remain great, or you had no plans on getting excellent scores this time around. You hope to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. Grades weren't the most important thing, no matter how good or bad they ended up being. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how you don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Looking forward to going back. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. It's so awful. I hate going. Come on, it's too scary not to think about it. No matter how much you wanted to enjoy your free time, the creeping dread of knowing that it would come to an end was always there beside you. I get what you mean. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. Gym's pretty great, though. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. The cafeteria lunches at my school could be better than they had any right to be. Nothing good about my school. These three things are the reasons why I didn't just become a homeschooled student. So it's hard to pick between... Excuse me. Learning new things can be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they talk with things, not just some people. Gym's pretty great, though. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the... Okay, so we can pick more than one. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. And gym's pretty great, though. There are all sorts of sports stuff during gym. Oh yeah, it can be fun, sometimes. But that was all. That's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken. Now, I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Oh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. All of them. All of them, though? I'm inclined to pick art supplies. I can't wait to try them out. I can't wait to see what you make. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Creepy, mean, weird, kinda interesting. He kept snapping at us when all we were trying to do was talk to him. I've never talked to anyone who spoke like him. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. That's true. That is not the same. They're not always around. I'm not the one who invites them. They show up on their own. You weren't able to say anything to that. I'm not the one who invites them. They show up on their own. That seems pretty accurate to how I make friends, to be honest. Lee laughed at your response, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see you, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face. How long are you going to hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go. I'll see you soon, okay? With a sigh, you said your goodbyes to Lee. Sorry for being so long. I'm still using it. No, get out of my room. She seems determined to cause trouble. But if I keep on calling to her, she's gonna start taking advantage of it. No, get out of my room. I don't think so. You can't have everything in the world. Neither can you. I'm not the one asking for it. You had your turn, now you want to get mine too because you were first? In your dreams, I will get Mom's. You glared at her. Fine. This whole day cannot be a fight with my sister. Fine. Lee, I have to go now. Okay, see you soon. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it! With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you lay in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and open sky. You were curious. What caused that noise? Sorry, I had to get up for a second. There we go. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. Cove looked awkward and unstable. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to leave them upright. With difficulty, he waved, then he wobbled, immediately dropping his hands in alarm. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face, but he was able to right himself in the end. He released a breath once he was steady. Hi, Min. What are you doing? What's up, Romeo? Sure, this is a surprise, but you're always welcome here. Is everything okay? No, this sure is a surprise, but you're always welcome here. Everything okay? What happened? You're lucky I didn't start screaming. Amazing, my dreams have come true. Jack, yes, Juliet, are you with me? Raining down on the sidewalk. What's up, Romeo? I know it's late, but I didn't know what else to do. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean, but that's why I did that. As expected, this was... as unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? Shouldn't have done that. Eavesdropping is bad. I would have done that too. You didn't comment on his eavesdropping. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom to not have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. That's a weird offer to make to someone you're divorced from. I mean, I guess it's not so recent anymore, but is 5 years really enough time? You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation had abruptly dropped off. Always were an expert at that, weren't you, Cove? You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You'd heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you can only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Before, they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're gonna be all together again, the three of us after all this time? Just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out, and now I feel really bad for feeling this way. And it's so... His fists tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already, and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That is hard to deal with. We can deal with this. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. Yeah, that's a lot. You didn't know what to say. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That's hard to deal with. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. That makes me feel a little better. Like, I'm not freaking out for no reason. No, of course not. Momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and it's as if all that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Nin? The sound of your name said quietly pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you concerned. Yeah, I'm okay. You meant it. Yeah, I'm okay. You didn't mean it. No, I'm not. I don't know. Who, me? I'm more worried about you. Wow, things are kind of bad for everyone, huh? Yeah, I'm okay, but you didn't mean it. You did not want to make this conversation about you, no matter how you felt. That's exactly why I chose that choice. Yes. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He'd come here, conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you. He really was a great friend. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line and rubbed at his arms. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could he possibly turn him away? You could stay tonight, but we shouldn't make a habit of this. You got a flashlight and some cards, are you in? Of course, you can always stay here, Cove. Got a flashlight and some cards, you in? You tilted your head, waiting patiently for his answer. Cove perked at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. Not just tonight, you were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never wanted to undo. Who would have thought Cove would mean so much to you? You certainly hadn't in the beginning. You kept your distance, and so had he. Now you consider him to be one of your closest friends. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, and you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what was about to happen. He smiled gently, put a hand on his shoulder, you patted his back, you hugged him, took his hand in yours, touched him with your foot. Let's take his hand. You reached out and gently held his hand. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove blinked, startled, before his expression softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken, often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you know Cove felt the same. You opened your eyes, groaning, as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your tan skin. Chapstick. With a loud yawn, you roll away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window through the night, and the two of you spent time together trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. Oh, he went home? You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little while longer. Yeah, he didn't go home until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bought it outright and gasped in surprise. He never left. He was still there in the morning. Cove! You laughed out loud. You jumped out of bed. You froze. You laughed out loud. He'd fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and precariously leaning his head on the side of your mattress. With a laugh, Cove snapped open and his head slipped from its source of support. He didn't stop going down and he smacked right into the floor with a crack. Oh my gosh. You clamped a hand over your mouth and looked over at him with wide eyes, curled up where he'd landed rather ungracefully. Ow. You laughed even more. Are you okay? You helped him up. Shh, my moms are gonna hear us. Are you okay? You winced at his tumble, hoping nobody else in the house had heard either of your outbursts. Yeah, I'm alright. Till rubbed at his forehead a little, and you weren't sure that was entirely true. If either of your moms found out that Cove had slept here last night, the two of you would be in big trouble. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic, as some thought only he could hear settled in his mind. His voice cracked! I fell asleep! You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be, on his face. He fell asleep with his glasses on too. What a pain. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down. I'm sorry. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It's going to be alright. We're going to be in so much trouble. Just calm down. Settle down before moms hear you. You didn't say anything. Settle down before moms hear you. Cove nodded, his shoulders tense as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all this had played out, but hoped that was true. Right. Bye, Cove. After that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, it seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Oh, a hug. That's so... Aw. Thanks. Again. You're a good friend, Nin. He firmly whispered the words onto the top of your shoulder. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling her room with its salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out onto the ledge. Wished him luck. You rallied him to keep going. He suggested he sneak out the door. Instead, you urged him to hurry up. Good luck. Good luck. Be super careful. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it could go to try keeping on. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage and then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped onto the ground. He threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit, you were pretty impressed by how doable he made that look. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window. Deciding there was nothing more you could do, you hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. Put on your slippers, you checked yourself out in the mirror, you made your bed, you just left. Put on your slippers. You know it was summer, but your slippers were comfy and cozy and made you feel better whenever you wore them. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. Actually, I just put on my slippers in the summer because I hate the cold. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they'd heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting. Why are you being so weird? You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned and offered a tight smile, and her lips pursed together even tighter. Nan? You shrugged it off. You clammed up? Wouldn't you like to know? Sorry. You excitedly blurted it out. You folded. Shrugged it off. I'm not. You spoke so nonchalantly, you almost thought she believed you. Not you knew better. Her suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something. But ultimately, she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. Then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out in most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today, you were extra glad for it. Now you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. Looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you got up. They'd left you a serving of fruit from the breakfast they'd made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. Took a little bit of everything. You passed on some parts because they weren't things you liked. You passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid meat. You passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid animal products. I do try to avoid meat, yeah. Your parents still made most of the food choices in the house, but they were working on accommodating you since you started talking about becoming vegetarian. You added some extra things not from their breakfast to your meal too, but the parts you did have were tasty. The day lazily drifted by. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect, balmy summer afternoon, and you decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he'd left that morning. You couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now or to call him to check in? He just left. You stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, and a voice caught your attention. Hi, Nin. Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory from where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school or from the country club or your mom's took you to, you had absolutely no idea who this woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Wow, your hair is practically neon. You're his mom? Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. I like your tattoo. Wow. Please give me a dateable parent DLC. My son lives here, and my ex, too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point out the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice. She seemed sort of strange. She looked really young. It made sense that she was Cove's mom. She felt so different to Cove. She was super pretty. It made sense that she was Cove's mom. They had the same eyes and other physical traits in common. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she'd appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned that she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kyra Priest. You can call me Kyra. Shook her hand. You didn't shake her hand. I'll shake her hand. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Nin, but you already know that. Cove mentioned you before. It's nice to officially meet you, Nin. Cove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. What has Cove said about me? What are you doing here? Nice to meet you too. Kept quiet. I'll keep quiet. She smiled at you a little, but said nothing else. You got the feeling she didn't want to spook you. The sound of a door opening and closing caught both of your attention, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he'd grown, you kind of figured his mom would have also been tall. But she was much more on the short side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father. I don't know, she looks kind of tall to me. There you are. I thought you were going to keep me staring out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eyes as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the street and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he'd acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You'd assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Nin. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was a pleading tone in his voice you couldn't miss. Of course they'll run it by your parents first, responsibility and all that. They'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on the street for the time being. Any whoosies, let's go. I expected her to be the professional type. Like, because Ko's dad is already very much like a lackadaisical surfer dude, although he'd taken up the manpower responsibility very, very well. So I expected her to be like some kind of businesswoman type. And maybe that was why they had a falling out. I wonder if it's just because they married too young. Or like, not too young as in like it's bad to marry young, but more too young for them. Kyra walked ahead towards your house and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her. I'm sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us. Not right now. You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad was so focused up on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night it was something they were planning for the future. Same. I did not expect her to come the next day. This morning, Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's going to be here all summer. Oh. You were surprised to hear that, too. Cove sighed again even heavier. Cove, did your mom have a job? I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing in relief. Thanks. That'd be cool. Pretty. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind her. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. You realized that, like you, she would have no idea it was Cove's mom who was hanging out with you. However, after blinking at the woman a couple times and looking between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike her. Hello there, I'm Pamela. I see you've met my kid, Nin, and I'm guessing you've already known Cove for a while. Kyra laughed, and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kyra Priest, Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eyes as Ma popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her. We have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was. Oh no, 3 pretty women in one place. She grinned excitedly at Kyra. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands. Hi, Nin. Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly, and she gestured a hand towards the living room. There's no use hanging out in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit. I understand. You're welcome to stop by any time. I'll take you up on the offer when I can. Count on it. I'm having trouble giving the moms unique voices. I'm sorry. Would you mind too much if Nin went with Cove and I? My treat. We won't be driving. Just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds nice. I hope you all have fun. You gave your moms a look, and they smiled at you fondly. You were happy they were letting you go. You're annoyed they agreed just like that. Thank you for letting me go. You could tell that Cove really needed the support, and you're ready to be there for him. Marvelous. Expect us back in an hour or two. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street. There was a sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi not too far from here. Yeah, there's a lot of them around. The answer was straightforward and the tone was curt. Cove was usually more lighthearted than that. Kyra put her hands on her hips and smiled at her son. Well, you sound like an area expert. Do you have any recommendation for a place nearby? Not really. Kyra pouted at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you, Nin? Want to point me in the right direction? You shrugged. Not really. Sure, I have a couple of favorites. You nodded. Oh, it seems like I'm going to be carrying their relationship, so sure. You've been to a lot of places in town, so you knew a couple good ones. There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. There's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Both sound like a treat. I'll leave it to you to pick first, since Cove is going through a phase over there. He huffed at her and turned his face away. I'm not going to force him to participate. That doesn't seem to ever go well with him. So let's go to tropical themed place because of her fit. Thank you, Nin. Will you show us the way? You nodded, taking the lead of your little group as Cove and his mom followed behind you. Together, the three of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kyra asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her instead. Kara explained that she lived in a large city, and she loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed since that bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Kara lowered herself into the chair while Cove picked the one diagonal to her, not facing her or to her side. It was awkward. Ahem. Let's see. Where to start? What would you all like to drink? I'll get an orange soda. Noted, Min. Soda. Which flavor? At 13... See, nowadays I would have tried to go for something colorless. Or with little color. But at 13, give me a root beer. Or maybe a grape. Gosh, first step, like I guess step 2, is going to be a whole video unto itself. We aren't going to be able to get into the vignettes until next episode, I guess. That's fine. Let's go for a root beer. Sure. Kara placed the order for your drinks, getting a black hot coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they were brought to the table and set in front of you. You took a long sip of your drink as you looked around the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menu, deciding what to order. Oh, I need to have breakfast or something. Last time you came here, the dish you ordered was amazing. You wanted to order something different this time. Kara and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon, the meals too were ordered and the menus taken away. He glanced at the table surface, waiting to figure out what to say. Cove sunk further back in his seat and avoided eye contact. He started to twiddle his thumbs while acting like this was perfectly normal. Sour feelings today were unignorable, and instead of asking more open questions he'd brush off, Kara had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you. So, Min, what's a few things that you're into? There's gotta be something you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried in school assignments. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is gonna be like the deal with choosing our kebab at the barbecue. I don't really want to read all the options, but I do really enjoy the option. I'm really into Cove. Games are fun. I like to play video games. I don't know much about them. Maybe you can show me sometime. And I spend time on art. I create digitally. My computer at home doesn't really have all the programs I need. And drawing. I filled out a lot of sketchbooks, and I like to read manga. I haven't heard of that style, but I'm sure it's very good. Fiction novels. Me too. Nothing beats curling up with a good book. And comic books. Oh, just like Cove's daddy back in the day. And I go to the beach and swim. You must be a strong swimmer since you live so close to the ocean. I find the water a little scary, but I still like to dip my toes in sometimes. Really? I would have imagined that you'd love swimming the way you look. Look for seashells. I keep the best ones I find for my collection. I'm sure it's an incredible collection. Oh, I wish I knew how to surf. Despite me living close to the ocean, I just never figured it out. And music. I can type in my own instrument. I do play a little guitar. I'm getting really good at it. My brother plays the violin. Lead. I also like to watch people. Oh, people watching is quite the unique hobby. And I write things. A fellow writer. Writer's a great form of expression, don't you think? It's nice to be able to do this because I can get more information out of her, about her and about Cove's dad. Kara sighed wistfully, her eyes going soft. So I guess that's why, if she's an author, and I guess that's why she could take so much time out, like a whole summer away, because she can just write on the go. I'm also into fashion, yeah. I like clothes. Understandable. I just love the way fashion lets you express yourself no matter who you are. Alright, I'm really into Cove too. Kyra let out a sudden laugh and Cove gasped behind you. It was a dramatic enough inhale that he almost choked on his soda. He shrugged his reaction. It was a truthful answer to the question. Pin! Cove whispered at you disapprovingly, obscuring part of its face with a hand, but Kyra only waved him off and encouraged you to go on. We spend time together when we can. I like it. Well, we have something in common. Cove smiled at Cove, who didn't look too impressed by either of you at that moment. And you didn't say anything else. Thanks. I'm happy to learn more about you. There's so much I hadn't heard. Cove leaves the details out. So what exactly did Cove say about me? I imagine I'm like looking at him out of the corner of my eye. Kyra laughed, holding a hand in front of her mouth. I can't tell you that. I didn't come all this way just to embarrass my son. Too much. Kids are delicate at this age. She laughed again, and you glanced at Cove to see his reaction. He was trying not to pay attention, but you could tell he wasn't comfortable. Hoping it would clear some of the tension in the air, you decided to ask Kyra a few questions of your own. Cove hadn't heard you much about her, and you were curious to know more about this woman who was such a big part of his life. What exactly do you do for work? I'm a travel writer for magazines and things. Oh, okay, not an author, but she writes for tabloids. I keep people in on the loop on what's worth seeing. It's good work. So that's... Okay, are you gonna write about Sunset Bird? Wow. What do you like to do? Where do you live normally? Are you in a new relationship now? Why did you and Mr... I'm not gonna ask about her relationship status. Where do you live normally? Nevada. Have you ever been there? You shook your head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. What do you like to do? Spend time with my little boy, of course, and traveling. A real shock, huh? I do want to know if she's in a new relationship. Kyra brushed the question off lightly. Not a present. Can you date me? You couldn't bring yourself to ask another question. Didn't seem to bother her that the conversation dropped off. Cove sipped his soda angrily, slurping up the remaining drinks with furrowed brows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You weren't sure if coming along ended up making the lunch better or worse. You made a silly face at him. You smiled at him. You gave him a sympathetic look. You flicked his straw wrapper at him. You left him alone. Straw wrapper. The wrapper hit Cove on the nose and you had to bite down on your lip to keep from laughing. It took a couple of moments, but finally he cracked a smile and that made you feel a little lighter inside. You two seem really cute together. Why would you say that? Cove covered his face with his hands and leaned back in his seat. His voice cracking is so good. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. Mom, why would you say that? You felt bothered too. You blushed. Thanks, we are cute. You just laughed. You blushed. The way that she said that had embarrassed you. You weren't prepared to have Cove's own mother describe the normal interactions between the two of you, the actions the two of you had, as cute. Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was so delicious, even Cove enjoyed his food. Alright, now that we're all full and content, can you explain please why you've had a bug up your butt all day? Cove's face scrunched at that. Seriously, baby, what did Mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. He gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward not to miss anything else, her eyebrows raised. Told you what? He finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't going to visit you this year, that you were going to be coming instead. Didn't you invite me? You wanted me here with you? Cove's eyes began to shake and his frustration ebbed. I do want you to be around, but I didn't know it would be like this. It's not the same and nobody said anything. Her expression grew tense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hands in front of her on the table. We've both been gifted another Clifford surprise. Referring to that as a Clifford surprise almost caused both you and Cove to crack a smile. You also had no idea his name wasn't just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody had ever called him Clifford until now. She smoothed her hair out, not letting go of her stern look. The more things changed, the more they stayed the same. They let out identical sighs, but smiled weakly at one another afterwards. I can go home, Cove. We can still set up a normal trip to my place before the summer ends. Cove's lips tightly closed together. He seriously pondered the option. I think I do want you to stay. I miss it when you're not here. My heart! She reached across the gap, grabbed his face, and planted a kiss on his cheek. Cove tried to wiggle away. Mom, stop! I'm sorry. Sweet young men need to be smooched by their parents. If I don't, they'll take away my mom license. Oh, I love you, Kyra. I love you. Kyra was completely enthused by Cove's admission. The tone of seriousness did return to her face when the conversation continued. Do you want to talk to your dad, too? No. Cove would snap the word instantly, but reeled his annoyance back in just as quickly. Maybe later, not today. I understand. We can shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, little mister. She grinned affectionately at him before turning her way. And thank you, then. What'd I do? It's easy to act like a baby with your mom. It's harder to keep that up with your neighbor watching everything. Especially when you really care about what said neighbor thinks about you. She winked. Mom! She just ruffled his hair with a laugh and then moved her hand down to tap the edge of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cove and his mom. The three of you left the restaurant, and Kyra paid the bill. You walked to back to your neighborhood slowly. You'd eaten so much by that time, you were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that the lunch had happened late, and the sun was already beginning to descend from the sky. Hello, Cliff. But eventually you reached your street. Someone was there to greet your group upon arrival. Welcome back, family, and Nintu. Oh, I'm not family? Cliff. Dad. The two of them walked past him into the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. It reminded me of how Maka treats her dad in Soul Eater. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. He rubbed the back of his neck with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked down after them. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? He gave a vague nod, not sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, then. You too, Mr. Holden. With that, Cove's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you imagined it would have, though it's turned out to set the tone well. Having Kyra in the neighborhood was a new experience, not only for you and Cove, but also both of your families, and a dull moment was rarely had. Alright! So, that was the first episode of Step 2. So, when we get back in, we'll be doing road trip, dinner, and family. And we might be doing growing in wave 2. I'm thinking of doing 5 per. That is... I don't know. I think it'll be funny that way. We have summer homework. That sucks. But, thank you for joining. Follow us at _planetaria on Twitter for updates. You can also follow me for art, like the rig that I made myself, at planet_Nino. Please do subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed your time in Sunset Bird, and I'll see you next time.